Picture this, a beach at golden hour. Friends laughing around a bonfire, the camera pulling back in a perfect drone shot. The waves crash just right, the embers glow, the dialogue feels natural, except nobody was there. The scene never happened. It was generated in minutes by Sora 2, OpenAI's newest video engine. This new model will succeed last year's Sora. It also has a linked social media app, and users can generate their own videos. They can share it with their friends, almost in a TikTok-style feed. Not just that, there is an upload yourself feature. It is called Cameos, and this allows users to be a part of any Sora-generated scenes. The app captures their likeness, and they are seamlessly inserted into the video. So for Silicon Valley, it's magic. But for movies and video making, it's a nightmare. 2 years ago, actors and writers shut down Hollywood. The villain wasn't just low pay or streaming residuals, it was artificial intelligence. Back then, the fear was mostly theoretical. Studios might scan an actor's face once and reuse it forever, or let AI churn out endless scripts and drafts. Now with Sora 2, those nightmares look like the reality. Actors warned about digital doubles, and they weren't wrong. Look at Tilly Norwood. On Instagram, she looks like your typical aspiring actress. She posts comedy sketches and selfies. Except Tilly isn't real. She is an AI performer built by a Dutch comedian. More importantly, she is already in talks with talent agencies. This has left Hollywood stars horrified. The Actors Union, SAG-AFTRA, calls it stolen work. And here's the uncomfortable question. Who owns your face? With Sora's Cameo feature, you can give a friend permission to drop your likeness into a video. Fun for a birthday party montage. Terrifying if that same friend makes you a star in a fake political ad. Or worse. Yes, OpenAI lets you revoke access. But once your digital double exists, how much control do you really have? There's already a fight for it. Bollywood stars are battling for personality rights. This includes the likes of Bollywood director Karan Johar and actor Aishwarya Rai Bachchan. They want to control how your likeness is used. But will all of this stop AI in movies and videos? Traditional filmmaking is expensive because humans are expensive. Actors, set designs, lighting crews, stunt doubles, every second on set costs money. Sora 2 makes it cost-effective. With the right prompts, a solo creator could generate a glossy short film. For studios, this means cost-cutting. For indie creators, it means leveling the playing field. But for everyone in between, it's a big problem. And then there is the non-consensual content. Now, we've already seen how deepfake videos can ruin lives. Now, imagine giving millions of people the tools to make studio-quality fakes. OpenAI insists that it has guardrails, identity verification, parental controls, the ability to revoke likeness rights. But Silicon Valley has a long track record of messing things up while moving fast. So what will this mean? It means the boundary between reality and fiction just got thinner. Your favorite actor, your best friend, even you, everyone can be recast at the stroke of a prompt. For Hollywood, that's an existential crisis. For tech companies, it's the next gold rush. And for the rest of us, it's a question we've never had to ask before. When the camera rolls, who really owns the story? And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Dramatic footage shows the moment a bell tower crumbles during the Philippines earthquake. A man rides an inflatable mattress in Ibiza as heavy rains flood the Spanish island. And a bear with a broken jaw is crowned Alaska's fattest bear champion. Finally, taking you back in history, on this day in 1918, Arab forces captured Damascus from the Ottomans. They were led by a British soldier called T.E. Lawrence. His military strategy and role in this revolt solidified his status as a hero. He became known as the Lawrence of Arabia. Leaving you on that note, thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.
Avanti, vediamo dove vanno questi due scienziate.
Non ho fatto le storie fine. Tornando nel garage sta entrando, è fortissimo.
The US government has officially hit a wall just after midnight last night. A shutdown took effect after lawmakers failed to reach a deal on funding for the new fiscal year. What does that really mean? For federal workers, for services, and for the US economy as a whole, here's what you need to know. The US government officially entered a shutdown following a bitter stalemate in the Congress. Lawmakers were basically unable to pass either the 12 appropriations bills necessary to fund federal operations or a short-term continuing resolution to maintain current funding while the negotiations continued. The House Speaker, Mike Johnson, placed the blame on the Democrats, saying that they were holding out to extend Affordable Care Act tax credits that basically help millions of Americans pay for health insurance. Democrats, led by the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, countered that, saying that Republicans were refusing to protect affordable coverage. The Congressional Budget Office estimating that around 750,000 federal employees will be furloughed. 750,000. In the initial days, at a daily payroll cost of roughly $400 million. This shutdown marks the first in nearly 7 years and threatens to disrupt a wide range of federal services, from healthcare administration to regulatory enforcement. As Americans brace for the effects of a political deadlock on Capitol Hill, the last shutdown, again during Trump's first term from December 2018 to January 2019, lasted 35 days and cost roughly $3 billion in lost economic activity. Many federal workers during that period struggled to afford childcare or commuting costs. Agencies have been slow to release contingency plans, but some have warned of potential impact. Historically, most shutdowns lasted only a few days, but federal workers face unpaid leave and financial strain. The government shutdown directly affects federal employees, dividing them into furloughed and accepted categories. Furloughed workers considered non-essential are sent home without pay, while essential personnel, including law enforcement, air traffic controllers, and active duty military, continue working but also go unpaid. Although the Congress has guaranteed retroactive pay for furloughed employees, once operations resume, families living paycheck to paycheck may face immediate financial strain, struggling with mortgage, utility, grocery payments. Service members similarly receive back pay after the funding is restored. The longer the shutdown persists, the greater the financial pressure on both the furloughed and accepted employees, which basically tells you that the personal impact of the political deadlock is massive on everyday Americans. According to the Associated Press, Director of Congressional Budget Office, has said that a short shutdown does not have a huge impact on the economy, especially since federal workers by law are paid retroactively. But if a shutdown continues, then that can give rise to uncertainties about what is the role of the government in our society and what the financial impact is on all the programs that the government funds. The impact may not be immediate, but over time, there is a negative impact of a shutdown on the economy. Also, the markets have not reacted strongly to the past shutdowns. In fact, at the close of the 3 prolonged shutdowns since the early 1990s, equity markets finished flat or even up. After initially dipping, a government-wide shutdown would directly reduce growth by around 0.15% points for each week it lasted, or about 0.2% points per week. Once private sector effects were included, growth would rise by the same cumulative amount in the quarter following the reopening. So while the essential services continue and the markets may hold steady for now, the real cost of this shutdown will be felt by the federal workers, families, and everyday Americans. Trying to navigate that uncertainty, lawmakers are back in session today, and all eyes will be on Capitol Hill to see if they can actually break the deadlock or if the government will remain at a standstill, with the economy and millions of lives caught in the balance.
Congress failed to approve a budget, the federal government ran out of money and shut down. Should that be allowed? Some members of Congress think not and introduce a bill to end government shutdowns forever.
This is ridiculous. I hope all of you are as tired of this as everyone should be.
Senator Ron Johnson and Congressman Dusty Johnson introduced the Eliminate Government Shutdowns Act. It was rejected on a bipartisan basis, but if it did pass, here's how it would work. If Congress fails to approve a budget by the end of the fiscal year, which is always September 30th, there would be an automatic continuing resolution for 14 days. That means the previous year's budget would be copied and pasted, and all government departments and agencies would receive 2 weeks of funding. If Congress fails to approve a budget within those 14 days, federal departments would automatically get another 2 weeks' worth of funding, and that process continues until Congress does its job. The bill's sponsors say government shutdowns cost billions of dollars, harm the economy, and don't serve the American people. Here's what lawmakers told SAN about the bill.
It's not going to pass, but the bottom line here is that shutdowns are bad, and it's an indication that the system is breaking down. Between the legislature and the executive and all of us together. No one likes them, and there's too many of them. So my strong preference is no shutdowns. But it does require that a president be the convener-in-chief, as we've always had in the past.
It's a circus, and this is no way to run a government. This is no way to run any organization. It's ridiculous. We should be sitting here 20 years from, not me because I won't be here, but your future successors 20 years from now going, remember back in the day when they used to shut down the government? Wasn't that silly? Because it really is ridiculous. This, we're here in DC where the vortex of nonsense is, but out in regular America, this is viewed really negatively.
If we get to September 30th, we should have a mechanism where the government doesn't automatically shut down like this. That would be a very important reform. And again, I think what we should be doing is fund the government to give more time for the regular appropriations process to play out. That's how this thing's supposed to work.
This isn't the first time Congress has tried to end government shutdowns. Senator James Langford introduced a similar bill in 2023. That didn't go anywhere either.
Japan is moving to dramatically expand its firepower. The guided missile destroyer JS Chokai is now heading to the United States for a year-long deployment. During that time, it will be modified to carry and launch Tomahawk cruise missiles, and its crew will undergo extensive training. The Tomahawk is a long-range precision strike weapon capable of hitting targets up to 1,000 miles away. Once deployed, it would put strategic sites inside China or North Korea within range of Japan's Navy. Tokyo has already signed a deal to acquire hundreds of these missiles as part of a broader plan to boost defense spending and build stronger deterrents. The Defense Ministry says the Chokai will be ready for live missions by next summer, following modifications and live fire testing. The upgrade comes amid growing regional pressure, with China rapidly modernizing its military and stepping up its activities around the Senkaku Islands, and North Korea advancing its missile programs. Critics, however, argue that such weapons are offensive by nature, raising questions about Japan's post-war defensive posture and triggering concerns about escalation in the region. With the United States, the United Kingdom and Australia already fielding Tomahawk capability, Japan's move signals a major shift in the balance of power across Asia. The threat of another confrontation between Iran and Israel is looming. Senior Israeli and Iranian defense officials are anticipating yet another strike. According to a senior official of the Israeli Defense Forces, Israel is preparing for multiple security scenarios, including the possibility of a fresh strike against Iran. This comment came against the backdrop of sharp warnings from Tehran. Former IRGC commander Mohsen Rizvai warned that Iran would go to war with the US if Israel launched another attack. He added that if a war lasted 2 months, there would be nothing left for Israel. This escalation is not just limited to trading warnings. According to a Washington-based think tank, Institute for the Study of War, Iran's Supreme National Security Council has asked military and civilian officials to designate successors in the event of leadership disruption. During the 12-day war in June, several generals and scientists working in Iran's nuclear program were killed. On the other hand, reports suggest scores of U.S. Air Force KC-135 Stratotankers have moved into West Asia. This is one of the largest aerial refueling deployments in recent months. Flight tracking shows aircraft departing from Atlantic bases and converging on Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, that is the headquarters of the U.S. Central Command. Iran is once again facing crippling international sanctions. Talks on nuclear deal are effectively stalled, and with uncertainty looming over the region, the ceasefire between Israel and Iran hangs in the balance.
It was another tense day of protests on the streets of Madagascar on Wednesday. Security forces locked down the city centre of Antananarivo to prevent protesters from reaching the area known as Democracy Square. Demonstrators and journalists denounced an attack on their freedom of speech. What's happening now is that we want to go to Democracy Square in Ambohijatovo and we are being blocked here. They are firing tear gas at us and people are fleeing through the small alleys. The police are still here in large numbers. On Tuesday, protesters were able to occupy Democracy Square in the center of the capital, but on Wednesday the location was deserted. Gen Z-led demonstrations have been ongoing since Thursday and were prompted by anger over water and power shortages. Protesters are demanding the departure of President Andry Rajoelina. We are not afraid. We are here because we are ready to fight. We are not going to run away. We are ready to fight to the end. Meanwhile, people close to the president have also called for action. On social media, they are inviting his supporters to come together to support and protect Andry Rajoelina.
Now to South America, where Venezuela's National Assembly yesterday approved a cooperation treaty with Russia as tensions with the United States continue to escalate. The agreement voted on by the government coalition-controlled assembly is designed to strengthen relations in energy, defense, technology, and the economy, according to the Venezuelan news agency. However, the treaty, officially called the law approving the Treaty of Strategic Association and Cooperation between Venezuela and Russia, still requires promulgation by President Nicolas Maduro.
Apruebe y refrende.
To approve and countersign the agreement signed between the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, presided over by Nicolas Maduro, and the government of the Russian Federation, presided over by President Vladimir Putin, because it's the expression of the brotherhood, the expression of a different way in which the people and governments relate, the expression of the increasingly solid and persistent condition of friendship, brotherhood, and cooperation between the Russian Federation and the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
De la cada vez más sólida y persistente.
Now, the development comes amid heightened tensions within the region. In fact, earlier in September, the United States carried out 3 strikes on alleged drug smuggling boats in the southern Caribbean. And yesterday, President Trump increased his rhetoric, saying his administration was weighing options to attack drug cartels directly by land.
We'll see what happens with Venezuela. Venezuela has been very dangerous with drugs and with other things. We had a lot of drugs coming in through water. We call it water drugs, just a simple term. We don't have any boats on the water. There are no boats. There are no fishing boats. There are no anything. So we hit a number of boats. You probably saw that. And since we did that, we have absolutely no drugs coming into our country via water because it was lethal. And now we'll look at cartels. We're going to look very seriously at cartels coming by land.
Now, meanwhile, President Maduro was awarded an honorary doctorate in security issues from the Bolivarian Military University. Wearing a medal, a red beret, and a black tunic, Maduro received the degree in a ceremony attended by the Venezuelan defense minister and other senior military officials. And speaking after the award, the Venezuelan leader delivered a master class in which he defended Venezuela's response to the U.S. military presence in the Caribbean.
Why is the U.S. empire now launching its multifaceted plan against Venezuela? With a worn-out false narrative. A false narrative already rejected by U.S. public opinion itself. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, with his indecency and so-called morality, has said that Venezuelan military bases are the epicenter of drug trafficking. As the constitutional commander-in-chief of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces, I reject and repudiate Marco Rubio's statements.
Con una falsa narrativa desgastada.
President Maduro declared that his government is on high alert and could declare a state of emergency to grant special powers in defense and security matters if U.S. aggression continues. He rejected U.S. accusations of him leading a cartel after Washington offered a $50 million reward for his arrest. And for now, the naval buildup in the region has seen 8 U.S. warships and a nuclear submarine dispatched to the southern Caribbean, along with 10 fighter jets sent to Puerto Rico. And the development is the largest since the December '89 invasion of Panama by U.S. forces. Meanwhile, Panama announced on Tuesday that the United States Marines will conduct a joint training exercise in its jungle with local security forces from October 9th to the 29th. And according to the Ministry of Public Security, the exercise aims to improve capabilities, enhance interoperability, and strengthen regional security. And about 50 U.S. Marines will travel to Panama aboard a U.S. transport plane. So as the standoff in the Caribbean grows, questions remain over whether these moves signal preparations for a larger confrontation that are still.
You guys say illegal immigrants are getting taxpayer-funded health care. Democrats say you're lying. That makes it feel like it could be a really long shutdown. Is this going to be a long shutdown?
You know, I don't know. I can't predict what congressional Democrats are going to do, Peter, but I actually don't think it's going to be that long of a shutdown. This is a pure guess from the Vice President of the United States, because I think you already saw some evidence that moderate Democrats are cracking a little bit. They understand the fundamental illogic of this.
Has the administration asked agencies to target federal workers who they believe to be Democrats?
We're not targeting federal agencies emergencies based on politics. We're targeting the people's government so that as much of possible of the essential services can continue to function. That is the principle that's driving us forward during this shutdown. It's going to continue to be the principle that drives us forward. But let's be honest, if this thing drags on for another few days or God forbid another few weeks, we are going to have to lay people off. We're going to have to save money in some places so the essential services don't get turned off in other places. That is the reality of the government shutdown that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have foisted upon the administration. We're going to have to make things work. And that means that we're going to have to triage some certain things. That means certain people are going to have to get laid off. And we're going to try to make sure that the American people suffer as little as possible from this shutdown. That's what the president is saying, is that, yes, this is a bad thing. Obviously, the president is trying to reopen the government, but we're going to make things work as well as we possibly can, given the constraints that we have.
And then on those policy differences.
While speaking with U.S. senior military leaders in Quantico, Virginia Tuesday, President Trump proposed what he calls high-crime U.S. cities for military training exercises.
And I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military, because we're going into Chicago very soon. That's a big city.
In the last few months, Trump has deployed National Guard troops to Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., while threatening to deploy troops to other cities like Portland, Oregon, and Chicago, Illinois. Local leaders opposed that decision, but Trump sent troops anyway. The deployments, along with increased immigration enforcement, led to protests and violence in some cases. Trump is now claiming National Guard troops have made D.C. safer than ever, as he touted more than 1,700 criminals have been taken off the streets with the federalization of the Metro Police Department.
Washington, D.C. is now a safe city. In fact, I went out to dinner with my crew. I haven't done that. In theory, I wouldn't do it. And I felt totally safe. And nobody's been attacked. Nobody's been hurt.
Now, Trump is eyeing sending troops to other Democratic-led cities, including Chicago.
Last week, they had 11 people murdered, 44 people shot. The week before that, they had 5 people murdered, 28 people shot. Every weekend, they lose 5, 6. If they lose 5, they're considering it a great week. They shouldn't lose any.
Governor J.B. Pritzker calls it a blatant violation of the Constitution. Federal boots are already on the ground in Chicago, mostly helping with immigration enforcement efforts. The Posey Comitatus Act mostly prevents the military from enforcing civilian laws, such as making arrests, controlling protests, or doing police work.